Hello, these are all that's left of my onions and shallots grown last year and stored in my garage. I'm going to cut you to some video I shot last year of me putting these into store. Watch that short video, then come back to me. Right, let's get on to these onions. Okay, so the bigger ones were grown from seed, and they're either Ailsa Craig or Kailsa. I've moved them about that much now, I've probably got them mixed up and I couldn't differentiate one from the other. But the big guys were all grown from seed, and they're Ailsa Craig and the Kailsa onions. Now the smaller ones, I got confused, shall I say, when I was sowing my onions. So take your pick. There's Red Baron, I'm fairly sure you can tell which they are. There's some Centurion, there's some Sturon, and there may be others. And right in the middle there, front and centre in the middle, are some gourmet shallots. They're Zebrown shallots. But hey, that's a whole lot of onion, isn't it? From an 8 foot by 4 foot raised bed. Now I'm happy that they're dry now. I'm happy that we've got the curing process started, and the moisture's disappeared, notwithstanding all that rain. So what we're going to do now, we're going to move these guys indoors. Now I'll tell you this before I move them indoors. I've stored them in these crates now over a number of years. The longest I've ever had an onion in store for is 6 months, and I didn't lose a single onion. Now it was in store for 6 months, that particular one, and it was the last one of the batch that I grew that year. I suspect these onions will probably last us more than 6 months. But will we get them past that 6 months? I don't know. And I guess you won't know unless you come back to me, because I'll probably do an update on this, because storing onions is something that has got to be done. If you grow so many onions, you've got to be able to store them, and the last thing you want is to store them and they start spoiling. So I've done it this way for a number of years now, and it's worked for me. If you store them this way, hopefully it'll work for you. Right, let's get these guys indoors. Okay, that's them. They're on the racking in the garage. I think it's only fair to say that we're just about to move into the first autumn month here at Homegrown Veg in the United Kingdom. So although it's a nice sunny day today, days are going to get shorter, they're going to get cooler, they're going to get colder as we move into winter. And that's important if you're storing anything in a garage. The door will be down most of the time, so these onions will be in the dark most of the time. When the door's up, there'll be a good air exchange in here, so there's no chance of any dampness creeping in, and they'll be stored through the colder months. And this works for me. Now, if you're trying to store these somewhere where it's warm, where it's hot, where it's damp, where it's humid, perhaps the garage isn't the place. Perhaps there's somewhere better, but this works for me, and it has worked for me over a number of years now. Yeah, that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. We're done with onions now for another year. Apart from every month I will lift these onions down, I will inspect them, and if there's any that don't look as though they're going to make it, I'll bin them. You can't just store and forget any vegetable. It's got to be checked regularly. Even potatoes that I'm storing in paper bags in the garage, I empty those bags out regularly into my wheelbarrow and inspect the potatoes. Any that are spoiling get thrown out, the rest go back in the bag. That's how we do it here at Homegrown Veg. Okay, so as you could see in that short clip of video, there were 12 crates. There's only one now. This is all that's left. So over the last 6 to 7 months, we've eaten all those shallots and onions. Just these to go. And as you can see, they've kept really well for that 6 or 7 month period. That's those red baden. They're really a firm onion. They were grown from sets. They don't all get that big. Sometimes you get a few small ones, but they're all edible. We've got some shallots in there, I think. Where are they at? Yeah, we've got a few shallots. They're the shallots. Now there's also a variety of shallot that's termed a gourmet shallot or a banana shallot. Okay, these shallots are grown from shallots and can be grown from store-bought shallots. These shallots aren't grown from shallots and can't be grown from store-bought shallots. These shallots must be grown from seed. Okay, what else we got in here? I'm not too sure what these smaller white onions are. I got a bit confused last year with my onions. I got a wee bit mixed up. I think these were grown from sets, but they're still sound, they're still edible. And these big guys, and they are big, these are Kelser, I think. These are a Kelser onion. Now these onions were grown from seed. And as you can see, the Kelser onion grown from seed stores well. Red baden grown from sets stores well. Zeebrown shallots, gourmet shallots grown from seed stores well. And the standard shallots, yeah, they store well. Okay, so if you're going to be growing any of these this year, you need to plan ahead, plan for success. Assume you're going to get a good harvest and you will have some to go into store. Try and work out where you're going to store them now. It's no good leaving it to the last minute. Have an idea where you're going to store your onions if you get a bumper crop. and this is how I've done it for a number of years. Works for me. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this little heads up video. This is Homegrown Veg, signing out.